Thank you.
I think I will just take it. Yeah, you have to stand behind it.
Okay, hello Scandinavia. Being half Norwegian, I'm really very pleased to be here, and I know there are many who are waiting for me to speak. So I'm glad that I can take the floor for a moment. I will not make a big speech. I will not. I will do that later. And I have already, for those who want to really see a complete exposition, and I have made interviews with two Swedish. The podcasts, and one is Swebet TV, and Jesper is here, and Ulf Bittner. So you can see much more exposed what I say, and I would be very happy. And I even speak Norwegian svensk, so you can see that. Now, thank you to the organizer. Thank you, Mats, Justinia, Osalia, and all the Children's Health Movement and Dr. Kennedy for organizing things like that. I hope that it will happen more and more. We were in Brussels together, and that was great too. So what I'm going to do, Philip did a great presentation, and Sylvia Behrendt is also involved in this, and we are working on this since the beginning with Rainer Fulmisch too. And what I can say is that I'm not going to go too much into those details, but I want to, because the title of this is Concentration of Power. And I've been thinking about it, and after 30 years in the United Nations system, it's like another university. I have learned a lot. I've been an NGO academic. I still am, representing two academic NGOs to the United Nations. But I've been expert and working there, and did my Master of Science with mental health. So it's not just with WHO. And that's what I want to talk about. What WHO is doing is an episymptom of what is going on at the global United Nations system level. And I invite everybody to go and type on internet United Nations system and go and look at the images. And you will find this chart. And when you see this chart, you will understand that WHO is just one little bit of a whole system family who has been in place since the Second World War. And I would even say after the First World War, the society, the League of Nations, was based in Geneva after the First World War. And it's very important to understand the development historically of that. I'm not a very good historian, but I can just point out at least that this is very important. Go and have a look at it. And so what happened is after the Second World War, because of war, it's always the excuse, they built the UN system for peace, security, and for the good of people. And you can look that it's very important to understand that the United Nations is based on a UN charter that I invite you to go and see. And they have one article, Article 110.1, who says that everything that a member state does is in accordance with its constitution. Now, this UN charter is more important than any document in the United Nations because it is like the top of the castle, and it dribbles down as a fundamental right for everything in the United Nations. Now, in the UN system, there is another body I have to talk to you about. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 entities, and it is very important to know what we can do about it, because after that I will give you solutions. But you have to understand first that the United Nations, like WHO has a World Health Assembly meeting every May. The United Nations has a Secretary General, like Tedros for WHO. Secretary General, they meet every September, every year. So you have all the presidents of every state coming together. You know, it's like a Monopoly game. They go out to the member states, they come back, and they meet every year. So for somebody who is in there, you start to know everybody at the end, and you know everybody how it is working. So it is like a family outside the people, because they don't represent people anymore. So the United Nations system, the General Assembly takes decision beyond WHO. So even if we say no to WHO, we say no to the treaty, we say no to the amendments of the US, who is very, very dangerous, because I just want to mention one thing, is that if these amendments are adopted, and they're adopted, you know, hands up, and who controls the votes? Well, they have put in it that you can reject or make reservation according to Article 22 only 6 months, and you don't have 18 months. You have to act very quickly. So it's very urgent. You understand that we have to write, but we also have to understand that this 22 to 28th of May in Geneva, you can look at it, you have to react. But above that, it's not just saying no to the WHO. We have to say no to the United Nations system, and we have to write to the Secretary General of the United Nations. But not only that, I was thinking just before, there's something, when I listened to all the great speakers this morning and to the economic incentive, there is something very important that people don't understand. It's the UN Security Council. The UN Security Council is the supervision of everything in the United Nations. The Secretary General is just the secretary. Even Kofi Annan, he was secretary, he was doing what we were telling him to do. He was a very nice man. He married a Swedish girl, a Swedish woman, the Wahlberg family. And you know the story, I don't know everything. But anyway, so when you understand, because you always look at, where is the sphere of the control? Well, I think it's in the UN Security Council, because you have 5 permanent members who have been there since after war with 5 veto, and there is France, there is United Kingdom, there is USA, China, and Russia. And you can go and look at the record of the vetoes they did. I remember one veto from France that I really applauded. It was Chirac with Villepin, who came and said no to the war in Iraq. So that was a veto. But you can see that the US has vetoed many, many things. Just with one vote in the Security Council, the veto of those 5 superpowers of the UN are directing and supervising the United Nations. So it's, even if WHO doesn't go, they can come up to the Security Council and decide for a war, decide for anything. We have to understand that this is a very important powerhouse. There's another thing, is that they are responsible of something important in our war with the jabs, of the Convention on Bioweapons. And I remember that we were in a meeting with Rainer Filmisch and some NGO from Russia, and they have, I think, filed a complaint for crime on the Convention of Bioweapons. So look at that too. So you can see that the Security Council locks the international system. This is really very important that you understand. And it's the Article 7 of the UN Charter who gives the right to the UN Security Council to decide for the destiny of the whole member states at the General Assembly. Okay, so once you understand this, you understand that we, the people, in the Charter, and what they said in the beginning of the years, we, the people, are important. I was there, a militant for NGOs, a scientific activist, I would say, when compared to the discussion yesterday. There was a lot of movement where there was a conference of NGOs, and this conference of NGOs, the NGOs were very active, and also did a lot of activity with the right to science and the right of women, and etc. But it got totally destroyed until 2015, and there is no conference of NGOs anymore. And you have to know, when I teach global health and the UN system, I always want to mention one thing. The NGOs is also a fraud, because in the NGOs, you have, so you know, so we call it like that, you will like that. It's called GONGO. It's the government NGOs. Another classification is the WONGO, the world NGOs. They always make associations of world associations of doctors, of pharmas, they have it all. And the one that's also interesting for the finance is the BINGOs, the business interested NGOs. And they are all in humanitarian aid. And OCHA, okay, all right. OCHA, the Office of the Coordination of Human Rights Action, is in Geneva with the International Red Cross, and the humanitarian aid is one of the biggest business. You create the problem and then you bring the business. So you have to understand that the mechanism is much bigger than that. So under the UN General Assembly, you have this whole family of the Economic and Social Council, the Secretariat of the Secretary General, the Trustee Council, which is a mystery to me, still to this date, so go and look at that. But one very important thing is there is the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court and the Code of Nuremberg, the Tribunal of Nuremberg, which was an independent tribunal with military, was suddenly taken under in this International Court of Justice. So when we discussed at the beginning with Rainer Fumisch and other lawyers, I just said to them, it's impossible. The United Nations has hijacked the whole International Court of Justice and the whole International Tribunal. So how can you make anything independent? And that's when I liked what you said this morning. They have made up the fraud of the empty law or the empty money, that they have created a system where they are directing everything and they can do like a game. They have made the rules of the game. They're organizing the rules of the game and they are judging the rules of the game themselves. They can judge themselves. They can send bingos and gongos and they come and you know, they're paying them. And so we have a big problem here is that when we start to oppose, okay, there are regulations. We have to be very careful of the footnotes, because in Article 22 of the WHO Constitution, there's a footnote A that says that you have 6 months to contest and to oppose. You also have to look at the reservations of the International Health Regulation, because in there, the United States has done a fantastic text. I think there was something very intelligent there, somebody very intelligent, because you look at their reservation, and it's all said. They cannot take over the United States, because the United States Constitution is stronger than this law that has no legal validity. They almost say that. So we have to understand that. We also have to understand one other system they can take is the Syracuse Principle. And the Syracuse Principle is in the Office of High Commissioner of Human Rights, like the right to health and many other instruments. But in Syracuse Principle, under the law of emergency and national security, you can take over a country militarily. So this, we know when I was training and teaching and doing the work with WHO, that was one thing that came up. So they know very well what they are doing. And so we have a big system, very complex, and I think they have complexified, so we don't understand anymore. We have to simplify, and when we do say no to an employee, like WHO, we also have to say no to the whole system on top and make sure that we catch those that were not caught in the World War II and that escaped the Nuremberg Code and Tribunal and have remodeled the whole United Nations to hackers and biohackers. And I just want to say another thing, hackers and biohackers, because WHO has issued 2 documents in the summer last year that are alarming, and one is the genome editing guideline, and the other one is technologization of care. So they want tech, and they want our genome, and in the amendments of the IHR from the US, it's written they want to have the sequencing of the genome. So that's where we stand. I have navigated in a big sea, and I hope that this will help you to think and to have, we can make our homework, but at least not waste time to just do one thing, but to go and get out of the whole system, like we should create a new system.